Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the First Class Second Place podcast. I'm Jason Enrique. We got no Ash Lazoo today; she's off. But nonetheless, we got a great guest with us today. We have none other than the owner of Bravery Studios in lovely Garfield, New Jersey, Marv Perdomo. How you doing, brother?
Hey, I'm doing good, Jay. Thank you for having me, brother.
First and foremost, man, I got to thank you because you actually came in clutch. This is kind of last minute, and then you came in, and you know, I'm looking forward to this, man. This is actually your second time on the show. You were very early on in the process. We actually did our very first episode when it was audio only back at Prototype. Shout out to Matt Zaytoon and all them over there in Patterson.
Yes,
and what I liked about that episode is we got to know each other a little bit more as friends, and I think that played a catalyst in how we became the good friends that we are now. But I also like the fact that it kind of was an inspiration for you to actually get back into behind the mic as opposed to just being Marv the producer, so to speak.
Bingo. Yeah, I think that was the first interview I'd done in years. So yeah, man, it definitely was like, oh man, this is cool. I forgot what this feels like.
yeah. But I really enjoyed the conversation. I mean, I remember specifically that I didn't know a lot what to say or what to talk about. But one thing that I noticed, but what I noticed is that we both have we share a love for movies, and that basically set it off right there. And afterwards, it just became a really great conversation.
Yeah, bingo. Yeah, man, I couldn't tell I always looked at you like you are one of the most professional and articulate speakers here at Bravery. So. Yeah, you surprised me that you didn't even know what to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, that was still very early on in the process. I think I was still trying to find my footing and everything. But I think what helped me out was my love for radio. I mean, I told this story plenty of times about how, you know, I wanted to get in the radio business back in 2005 when I was a delivery driver, and I used to hear these commercials for the Connecticut School of Broadcasting in Hasbrook Heights. Mm-hmm. I couldn't afford it at the time. It was going to cost an arm and a leg. So then I said goodbye to that dream. Fast forward to now, we're into podcasting, and I actually feel like this medium is much more my fitting because it's creative freedom. You don't have to worry about ratings, and I could just do my own show. And you know, the radio industry is a dying industry anyway. I mean, this is where it's at right now. This is the new wave, as the kids say.
Oh, bingo, yeah. You know, it's funny. I wanted to go to that school too. I didn't even look up pricing. I never got around to it, but I ended up just going to Bergen Community College and taking communications there. But that's interesting. We were almost going to end up at the same school. Yeah. In another timeline, we would have been there.
Real. Well, I feel like we were meant to like cross paths anyway. With whatever the trajectory was there. I mean, but you actually, I think we may have discussed this before on the previous episode back then when it was audio only, but I don't think I ever got a chance to ask you this on camera and in front of the mic. So, as I mentioned before, you are the owner of Bravery Studios in lovely Garfield, New Jersey. And by the way, Steve behind the glass, the engineer. So you probably get this asked a lot, but I guess for my audience that are not aware, how did you come up with the name Bravery for Bravery Studios?
You know, it just really came from like, one is trying to find a one-word title for a studio because I like titles that mean something. So calling it like M&J Studios or you know, something kind of too simple. It's too Philistine for me, you know. But I used to pass by this underpass in Patterson that said the words, "If your dreams don't scare you, then they're not big enough." And it just always like gave me the thought like, yeah, it takes a lot of bravery to follow your dreams. So yeah, that's bravery. That's where I got that word installed into my mind. It's an underpass on Spruce Street. I used to walk past to get to work every day.
Do you know if that's still there?
Oh, last I saw it was still there. Yeah.
Nice.
Last I saw it was still there. Well, last I saw it was still there. And if you know the Art Factory, and you know Spruce Street, and I think that's also Graham Street. Man, I haven't been around that area in so long. I forget now. Grand Street. Yeah, it's Grand Street. Yeah, if you know Spruce and Grand, then you know that underpass. It goes right through Route 80. So yeah, last I saw it was still there.
Okay. Well, I might have to take a stroll down there, and take a picture of it and send it to you.
Yeah.
And maybe you might have to have like a little bit of a mural somewhere in the studio to kind of remind you of where it came from in the beginning.
You heard that, Ose? You hear that?
Yep. Shout out to Jose.
Yeah. I tell him that every day. Like, what are you waiting for, guy?
Yeah. So you just mentioned the R Factory, and it kind of brought me back to when you actually did an episode on SQR podcast, which I was lucky enough to be there along with Steve, our engineer.
Cinco de Mayo last year.
Yeah, Cinco de Mayo. Yeah. And that was actually the first time that I ever been to the R Factory, and I like I've mentioned before that I'm not a Pattersonian per se. Like I wasn't born there, I wasn't raised there, but I do have some kind of roots implemented because my father has a history with the city. I did spend a good portion of my life there momentarily, and so even though I don't consider myself a real Pattersonian, I feel like I have some kind of roots embedded into the city. But going back to the art factory. That was the first time that I had been there, and you guys introduced me to it, and I got to see behind the scenes with SQR podcast, and I thought it was a phenomenal episode. What I loved about it is I think that was the first time that I've actually seen you open up, and that was like, you've done a bunch of these podcasts already. You've been on multiple podcast episodes as a guest. You've done your own thing here and there, but I think that was the one time where I actually got to see the real Marvin Perdomo. Like, you really opened up to your human side, and it was actually a wonderful thing to see. And I think that was a good starting point as a catalyst to us really becoming like more than just colleagues, but I look at you as a good friend now.
Yo, shout out to Rosenberg, bro. The guy knows how to do a stellar interview. He is a master at his craft. And the that was a good interview. We were there, and we were Cinco de Mayo. I remember we went to the little food area, and they were already shutting it down by the time we got there. But we still had some chips and guacamole, I think.
That, and we also, Squirrel had to come through with the Heinekens.
That's what really got it loose. I was like, I think I'm gonna let it all out in this episode. Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, was that uncomfortable at first in the beginning with you trying to opening up and being that vulnerable in front of a microphone and a camera and stuff?
Funnily enough, no. I think, like I said, the social lubricant alcohol is a great tool for that. But it's always along limits. If you drink too much, you end up having a waste of an hour or whatever long you record for. We've had experiences where we came back here and recorded, and I was like, that was bad. Yeah, we got to throw that one out. But that one went to the vault.
Yeah. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah. But actually staying with that, because you just kind of made something pop into my head. So I've actually experienced this before on other podcasts where I'm looking forward to having certain people on, and I'm really excited. Like finally this is gonna happen because I saw what they did before, and then afterwards they come on the show, and this actually happened on my show before where they were just like completely out of it. They were stoned out of their head. Like, one of them didn't even look like they wanted to be there, and the other one was just like really slurring his words, and it really felt like pulling teeth. What do you do when you experience that, when not just maybe in front of the mic, but also behind the cameras and behind the glass?
I have been behind many episode where people were too intoxicated to record or to put on a good show and have a good conversation. And it whomps a little bit because you took the time out of your day to do all this, and people that pay for studio time, they paid for you to be on their show pretty much, and you're there and you're not giving anything, and you just can't get into it. You can't have a good conversation. It's really unfortunate, and there's not really much you can do at that point. Maybe stuff it in the vault and say, well, we tried, but I just want people to be conscious, whether you be the interviewer or the guest, because I've had my own podcasters come in and do a less than favorable job interviewing somebody or just having a conversation because of that also, be it alcohol or weed, which is, both are legal.
Whatever vices, yeah.
I don't stop people from doing that before the show. And if it helps you socially, then I think that everything is okay in limits. Too much of anything can hurt you, right? Mm-hmm. So it just has to be done moderately and know your limits. What does Dirty Harry say in the third movie? Man's got to know his limitations.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and I think that's true with everything. So yeah, just if you're the type of person that needs that to kind of put on a show, you're not alone. I mean, half of Hollywood is probably doing the same thing or whatnot.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just know your limits. Know what's the boundary of what can keep you from having a bad. And the worst thing that could happen is that you just say something you were not supposed to say at all, and now you have recorded footage of you saying this, and it's horrible. So yeah, know your limits before you come on a mic in front of cameras and everything.
Right. And listen, I'm not here to be holier than thou or anything like that, because I've actually been guilty of it before. I remember, I don't know why I thought this was a brilliant idea at the time, but I had a guest on the show way back in the day when it was still audio only. Shout out to Dr. Bams. He's a finance guy. Like, he knows about like financial like stuff and everything, and he can help you out with your credit and so on and so forth. And when we recorded this episode, it was on St. Patrick's Day. And I don't know why I thought it was a good idea to talk finance and credit repair and everything while also drinking Jameson, celebrating St. Patrick's Day. And it was one of the longest episodes that I've ever recorded in any podcast, let alone mine. And by the end of it, I was just like, I can't listen to that episode, especially towards the end, because I'm slurring over my words. I'm messing up my read. It was not my finest hour, but it was a lesson in itself.
Yo, I think funnily enough, which is your favorite word.
Shout out to Cruciballo.
Yeah. I think I learned that from like Danny Trejo. I think he was on a radio station.
Machete.
And he was talking about people knowing their limits with these things. You know, these things they can be fun if you like. If it's in your wheelhouse and that you get jollies from that, then no shame. And everybody has a thing that they do, but it's some people can function. Some people can't, and it's not necessarily the substance. It could be you. It could be just the way your body is composed, your DNA or whatever. So just know your limits. That's all.
Right. And I don't know why, but it kind of also made me think of when I was on the set of this TV show that I'm working on, Nights with a K, which should be available soon on Roku channel. This coming Halloween. Be on the lookout for that. But I was very fortunate to work with Miko Gatsu, who, for people who are not aware of that name, he's well known as playing Mouse on Euphoria. So I was actually very fortunate to be alongside and act along an actor of his caliber that is very well known in the TV sphere right now. And one of the things that I think was that I really admired is there was a time where we were on set and a lot of us were kind of like BSing, and we were killing daylight, and we knew that we had a project to work on, but things kind of got a little exhausted, and we had to like lift up spirits, and then we just kind of got out of control and not focusing on the task at hand. And then I feel like the professionalism, because he's actually been on actual professional sets with HBO and stuff like that he knew that time's a wasting, we got to get it together. Like he took over the room and let us know that it's time to get our shit together. We only are here for a certain amount of time. None of us are getting paid for this. We want to do this right now, so let's kick it into gear. And then afterwards, it was just smooth sailing for the rest of the filming that day. But I think it kind of inspired me to like have that kind of same mentality going forward with the show. And I think that's the initiative that the producers saw in me that gave them the confidence to ask me if I wanted to direct an episode of that series, which I'm very fortunate and blessed to do. And definitely, once again, I guess I gotta call you clutch or something, man, because not only you came in clutch for this episode, but you also came in clutch when I had to do my second day of filming, and you allowed us to use your studio here in Garfield, New Jersey, at Bravery, and film one of the scenes. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. And also, we have a little bit of a cameo with our engineer, Steve, as well. That's
he is gonna be famous.
Yeah, man. But yeah, no, I just wanted to share that real quick, man, because I don't think I've ever told you in person that how much I really appreciated it and how much of a supporter you've been, not just with this podcast, but in other endeavors as well.
Yeah, bro. I want to see everybody succeed. That's for sure. Everybody that records here, who doesn't even, record here either. I have a lot of friends who I think will be the Mark McGuire of podcasting, or of Mark McGuire is a bad choice. Why did I go with Mark McGuire? He cheated, didn't he? That would be the Babe Ruth of podcasting, right? But they don't use their talents. I have so many friends, and I always think every morning, not every morning, but I think from time to time, like, yo, these people could be superstars, but they are not using their talent. They're universally or God-given or spiritually given talent, and it reminds me of Bronx Tale, nothing worse in this world than wasted potential,
wasted talent, yeah,
wasted talent. So when I see someone like you, who, hey, if all it takes to help you get to your goal is let you record here, or be flexible enough to give you a different day to record if somebody can't make it one day, then yeah, if it's no sweat off my brow and no heavy lifting on my end, then yeah, why not help everyone succeed if it takes minimal effort. I'm not about you can only walk in here when it's time for you to record, or don't ask me for nothing outside of the hour that you record in. No, I like to, I'm by my phone, and I try to pick up as much as possible. I can't pick up every phone call. People need my help, but if you catch me, then yeah, let me see if I can help you. And if I can, if it's in my ability, and then yeah, I'm going to help you.
Where does this passion of wanting to help people come from? Because I feel like it was something that it was embedded in you way before you decided to become your own businessman.
Where does it come from? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I never got help, but also there wasn't any resource for me to get help from. So there was no artistic outlets for me as a kid growing up. So it wasn't really like I could help people back then, or they could help me. I don't know.
Would you say it's like you kind of like what you just said right now? Is it kind of like you were never really given those opportunities, and now that you've actually kind of created your own foundation that you could allow to have those opportunities that weren't presented to you to others? Do you think that may have come?
Maybe, yeah. I think that's definitely something. I like helping people. I like seeing them smile,
Yeah, but the only reason, I guess the only reason that I bring that up is because I think that's why you and I get along so great, because we think alike in that aspect.
Yeah.
Like when, one of the things that I always relegate to when I first started first class, second place is I told myself that it wasn't just about me. I mean, yeah, I was the host in the beginning, and but it's not just my show. It's like whoever wants to come along with me on this journey and be a part of it. And I've always tried to do the best I can to put people in the best light possible. And one of the last guests that we had on the show before, shout out to LA, he caught it. He said it perfectly. I mean, when he watched a couple of episodes in the past, he said that he appreciated that we're not into like in this whole culture of just like saying things or doing things just for clicks. I just don't feel like, I mean, that's something that we could do, but I feel like I wouldn't be myself. But I do have those moments where I wax my legs on camera just because I feel like selling my soul just for a brief moment.
I ate a hot potato chip. I almost killed myself.
Right, yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. Like, we're a good community of people. That's think someone up there that I've never had someone come through my door and be a piece of garbage. Like, absolutely not, and but yeah, I love helping people, but also I've learned to have boundaries, over the last couple of years. I've learned that after 10 o'clock I'm a zombie. I just want to lay down and in my sarcophagus and just like enter the ethereal realm. So don't bother me after 10 o'clock. Like, I need my sleep. I'm a bear. Yeah. And also don't waste my time if what I'm helping you with is not important to you, because people will call me and people will ask me things for my assistance with things and my ideas and my opinions for things that they're not completely focused on. So that really disappoints me when you waste my time, because I've had people where like, all right, I'm going strong for like helping you create this and create that and work on this and come up with this concept, maybe helping you with the logo, helping you with an intro. And when none of it comes to fruition, none of it becomes realized, I just felt like, wow, I wasted so much time helping this person. And I've encountered those situations where like I say to myself, I got to be more wise about who I'm giving my time to, because my time is one thing I can't get back. I can get my money back, I can get physical things back, but I can't get time back. So I've learned my time is my most valuable and most precious commodity and most expensive currency. I will not. I've learned to read people and say, hey, I can see that you're not entirely focused on this, so I'm not going to invest my time in that. And say it in a politely way, no shame on anybody if they have 100 things going on and they can't focus. But I've learned that recently, like that's an important thing.
Mm. And, with you being your own businessman and being your own entity and so on, it kind of made me think of a conversation that I had earlier with somebody where basically the topic of conversation at the time was, they said that this month their goal is learning to say no without feeling guilty. And I thought about that because I think that, I've talked a lot about my own mental health issue struggles on the show before. And I think one of the things that happened, especially when I was younger with, past trauma and stuff, is I feel like if I didn't want to do something or if I didn't feel right about it, I always had to find a way to justify it or just figure it out a way where it didn't make me look as bad or made me look like an asshole. But the point I'm getting at is I basically had to learn how to say no simply because I need to protect my own space or simply just I just don't want to. And but looking back then, it also made me realize that one of the factors of me trying to please everybody is the reason why I'm not taking care of my own self. And over time, I feel like people were taking advantage of me. I was feeling very vulnerable, and people saw that weakness, and they would use it to their advantage. And it sucks that I had to go through that, but I'm really glad now that I'm the wiser, and I'm not letting it slip past me this time. Even though some people still try to do it every now and then, you're gonna have those people that are gonna come into your life that they think they could smell weakness and they could try to take advantage of you, and then afterwards they see that it's not exactly what it is, and then afterwards they don't, their plan kind of goes kaput. But going back to you as far as like being your own entity and your own businessman, I'm pretty sure that you've kind of had to grow thick skin and learn how to say no on certain levels, and not just be a dick or anything, but you're also looking out for the best interests of yourself and others.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what else I could add to that. It's just I have no problem saying no now. There's just I watched Mary Kate and Ashley say that on the morning show. I forgot what morning show they were on. I think it was Regis and Kelly. Mm-hmm. And they were like, they learned that no is a full sentence. And I was like, oh, look at Mary Kate and Ashley saying influencing me over here. What is going on? Wow. But yeah, they're just right. No, I can't. What do you want me to do? Somebody wanted to do something here really late one time. And I've gotten in trouble with the city for staying open too late. So I said no. And I think that really upset them. But I have not thought about it until this moment because I don't care. It's no.
But that's my point, though. You've had to develop a lot of thick skin.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's like, nope. What do you want me to do?
Right. But you know what? I really have to say that, not just because we're friends, but I'm really proud of everything that you've been doing here in Garfield, with Bravery Studios and everything, because I think maybe initially it started off as just a podcast studio, but it's actually evolved into something a lot more than that. And I think the city is starting to recognize, the efforts that you guys have been doing with this community. You guys were very fortunate to have the mayor come through, and, you guys are going to be like working together, so to speak. But it's like you guys are making strides, and I'm actually very proud to be part of this family and everything. But what would you say are some of the trials and tribulations in the beginning, getting this whole business started in the first place?
In the beginning, what were the trials and tribulations? Just getting it to be a business, getting it to make money in the first place. Because the first couple of years, we didn't make a penny. So, luckily enough, people just started to want to podcast, and and we were ahead of the curve. We were there before. We were there in 2016 before even like podcast was a twinkle in people's eye. Mm-hmm. So that was a big one. I guess also finding time for your own personal projects, because once business picks up, it becomes very difficult to do your own thing. Which is something you can't complain about because, hey, that's what you wanted. You wanted the business to make money, so now you wanted it to be busy. So things like Marv in the Morning, which I really love doing.
Oh, my God. I miss it so much. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah, man, me too. Things like that I love doing. I love interviewing people. I have a stash of interviews that I get hit up once a week for, like, hey, when's my interview coming out? Mm-hmm. And it's funny because, no shade on anybody, but there was an interview I did that took a long time to come out, and I was like, no, I get where this guy's coming from. He probably just got busy. But Yeah, like sometimes it's hard to find time for your own projects, and I'm happy that recently we've been able to allocate time in the studio to our own projects that our community are working on together. We're working on together as a community, and I'm very proud of just the people that are part of our community, people who you've introduced to this community, which I'm grateful for that you brought them here. People that were already recording here, that we've become sort of a family. We go to Podcasters Night Out, and
Yeah.
we do our events, and yeah, I'm very, very proud of where things are. And there wasn't really too many trials and tribulations. That if anything, that was movie worthy. Movie worthy. There's nothing yet. I mean, I guess moving here was very difficult because I had to do it solo. So when there was a pandemic and we had to move another building to here, that was very difficult. But it also showed me my own strength. So I'm very happy that it happened because I had to build this whole studio by myself. Steve was still in Washington, and there was no Matt and Will yet. There was no Rocco to give me a hug at the end of the day. So yeah, like I had to swing some hammers, and there were a few people who did help me with moving stuff over. Malcolm from Friday Super helped out a lot. Stinky Pete, Mighty Pete, whatever you want to call him. I used to bring him kicking and screaming. But yeah, like that was probably the most. That was the one where I was waking up every morning like I can't enjoy the comfort of a bed right now. I need to get up. I need to go to the studio. I need to swing some hammers and nail some nails, and that was a really tough one. But man, did it show me like how much I'm capable of in a short amount of time. Because I had to fix things up and build things, and then record a podcast probably later in the day because we didn't stop podcasting when we moved. Even though there was barely rooms, there was barely a floor, there was barely anything here. We did it all. So shout out to the clients that put up with the transition because it was rough. It was very rough. But we got it done, baby.
Yeah. Now you mentioned like not being able to find time to do other projects that you have in mind or you want to do, but now it's becoming a little bit more of a reality for you. What other things do you have in mind as far as like other projects that you have interest in? Because I also know that at one point, or even like if it's still kind of like a little bit of a dream for you, is well actually you were doing it back then. Was filmmaking.
Would I get back into filmmaking? I think I wouldn't maybe be a director, but I think I would be a producer. I think I would like to be alongside you or Matthew or Zaytoon or any of you other guys, even Chris Abalo. I would be alongside any of you guys helping you out with your production. I was watching this week The Offer from how they made The Godfather.
Oh yes, yeah.
And it's told from the perspective of the producer. And while the show is fictional, it's not. Very little of it actually happened in the way that it said it happened on that show. But I do think there is a magic to putting the pieces together like a producer, where like I know he's a great director. I know he will knock this out of the park. I know that they're great actors. I know that I'm the one that needs to go speak to the people with the money and say, hey, this is going to be the project. I am fortunate enough to be in the in-between section between extremely artistic and extremely formal in the right rooms. So I think I would like to be like a producer for movies more than just a director. I think that's probably why I feel more comfortable nowadays.
And like as far as like other projects that you have in mind?
Do I have projects in mind for movie making?
Or just anything in general? Because you said that you had projects or things that you are thinking of doing or wanting to work on now that you're starting to find a little bit more availability with your time.
Jason's asking a question that he knows the answer to. Yeah, we're working on the podcast network right now. We're working on Bravely Podcast Network. My tongue doesn't work sometimes. Yeah, Bravely.tv, and we're doing a show where we're reviewing action movies. We are doing a fitness podcast. We're doing a handful of podcasts together. We're doing a sports podcast, and it's with the community here. And that really comes from a place of sacrifice to make that happen, because I'm taking a day where we could just, allocate studio time to people who are paying clients who want to come in and record. But I said to myself, no, there's a community here. We're all visionaries. We're all trying to do these things together. And I want to say, hey, I'm not going to make money that day, and say, hey, we're going to work on our own projects that day together as a community. And I think that's very important to me. And I hope people can see the sacrifice in that too, because like I said, it's a day we could be working, but it's a day where we're working on our own stuff and following our own dreams too. So yeah, Bravely Network is coming soon. Jason's a part of it. Everyone that we kind of mentioned earlier is a part of it. And big things are coming. Big things are on the horizon. So stay tuned for that.
Nice. And I'm happy to be a part of it, man. I mean, we did a little bit of a trial run this past Sunday. I had a lot of fun with it, man. I had so much fun. I was glad that Hugo was a part of it. I'm glad that Steve was a part of it. You know, he definitely contributed. Shout out to Matt Zaytoon, absolutely. But I'm looking forward to it, man. I mean, I know that. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't think it's anything wrong with me, but I just love being in front of a microphone and, you know, just being able to talk about absolutely anything, especially with people that I immensely respect. And I know that we have what it takes to actually put a phenomenal product out there. And I think that's one of the things that really drives me to being part of this community.
And I think you excel at it immensely. Everyone that we brought together for that Die Hard Christmas episode of Marv in the Morning.
Yeah.
All of us have a very similar origin story, like superhero origin story, where we all like wanted to be filmmakers, and we still are on that path too. But we're all in the podcasting space. I think there were so many similarities between everyone in that group that I said, this needs to be like the Avengers. This needs to be like the Bravery Avengers right here. And thank God the chemistry just worked, and you guys are all like best friends now. I twinkle in my eye every time you guys are together and hanging out. So when I saw you and Hugo with Rosenberg and whatnot, like I'm thinking like, man, you see, this is the magic that I wanted. Like, because the beautiful thing about the Art Factory and what they have over there and what I experienced when I was hanging out there is that it's a community. You knock on any door and there's a different artist working on a different project and collaborating with each other, room to room. And I wish we would have got to walk around more. I don't know if I showed you the whole place.
I think I saw a good portion of it, but it was a huge place. Like, I'm pretty sure there was more that needed to be seen.
There was more. There was a lot more in there. And yeah, that was the beauty of it. I remember when me and Steve and two other guys, we were trying to get a room in the Art Factory, and we didn't even know what we wanted to do yet. It was more or less just to be part of the community there. And we couldn't make it happen, but then we built our own Art Factory, you know. And it's been a beautiful thing ever since. And look at the community, man. Look at the people, all the beautiful people.
Yeah,
all the fat, skinny people, all the tall, short people. You never think you'd meet so many people. That's a David Bowie line. David Bowie has a line where he says that at the end of a song. Yeah, that's David Bowie. He's a cool guy.
I was trying to think of the lyric, but I'm
all the fat, skinny people, all the tall, short people. Yeah. I never thought I'd meet so many people.
Yeah, I'm not very I'm not up on my David Bowie like that.
But I love David Bowie, bro. Like, forget about it. The thunderbolt across his face.
Yeah.
And then the themes of space and the themes of alter egos. He had a lot of alter egos, which I say to myself, when I was on Twitch doing gaming stuff, that's Gnarly Marv. That's the alter ego there. When I'm behind the window over there, I'm Marv the Producer. And when I'm feeling stylish, I'm Marv McQueen, because I feel like Steve McQueen, the cool guy. And everybody has alter egos, man. And I think David Bowie articulated that well in his music and in his personas and the themes of space. Like, once I get really all my goals done on Earth, I'm going to go to space and we're going to do stuff up there.
Nice.
That's next after this. I'm going to go to Mars.
Oh, that'd be dope.
Yeah, we're there.
Now, So, first and foremost, I want to say I appreciate your sentiments towards me and everybody else that we've been welcoming to this community and everything. And I agree with you. I love everybody that's been, basically kind of like the Avengers, as you put it, for lack of a better term. And it's a wonderful, beautiful thing. And I mentioned before about how it's for me, it's definitely a semblance of family, because there was a long time in my life where I felt like that's what I was missing more than anything. And my circle felt like it was constantly changing. And I'm hoping that this one is a long-lasting one, and I think it will be. But as far as like when it comes to strictly content creation or even just podcasting, I know that you've worked with a whole bunch of array of different personalities, and you know what works and when what doesn't. To any aspiring podcasters out there that hopefully they come in the future to Bravery Studios, what would you say? What do you actually look for? Like, what is your ideal podcast host in general? If you could sum it up, like, what do you look for most, and as opposed to what you don't look for?
Ideal host. Now, is this a podcast that I would be listening to, or a podcast that I would be creating? What do you think? Because ideal host would mean like someone that I would like, I'll listen to this podcast.
Yeah, let's start with that one.
Okay, so if it's an ideal host, it's got to be somebody that is authentically themselves, regardless of ideologies and beliefs and whatnot, and isms. Yeah. So podcasting, for me at least, is not a performance. They have scripted podcasts and whatnot, for the most part, I generally think of it as just a recorded conversation. So, a host just has to be, charismatic and himself and know his jazz. Like if your podcast is about cars, then no cars, like more than your social security number. You see, that's another reason why we worked well together and became great friends, because we all knew movies. Like, listen, when I went to go spew off the writers of Rush Hour, and you already knew it off the top of your head. I'm like,
that's true, yeah.
I'm like, this is it. This is the team. This is the squadron. So yeah, someone who's authentic and knows their jazz, bro. Like that they can defend themselves. When in the Dominican Republic, when you come from America and you don't speak the language that well, they'll say, no habla mucho español, pero se defiende, which means he doesn't speak that much Spanish, but he can defend himself. And if you can defend yourself in your niche, then I think that you'll be a great host.
Now, as far as like a podcast that you're producing or an episode you're producing,
I look for that, I guess, in my podcasters too, and I try to tell them to be authentic. But it is also not necessarily a thought process of that I'm going to listen to this podcast. It's more or less about what they want and what their goals are. Because what I do is not always for me. Yeah, and I know that might sound weird to some people, but I always look at it like, what's their audience? What would service this podcast the most? And I'm trying to think of an example. So if we have a relationship podcast, I'm not too savvy. I'm not Casanova. I don't know too much about that area. So I guess someone in that space, needs to know that kind of thing. And that's really what it really comes down to. Just knowing your niche and knowing every facet of it, and being an authority. That's the right word, an authority in that space, because you really got to think about it. If I'm producing a podcast, I have to make it a podcast that can compete with all the other podcasts that are being created every day, which is thousands probably, and also they are people who are already elites in this field, in this niche, most likely. So if we're creating a relationship podcast, then we're competing with all the other relationship podcasts out there. So yeah, the only way you can really compete with someone on that level who's much bigger than you already, has been podcasting for years, is to be an authority in that field and to know what they don't know and bring something to the table that they don't bring. So I hope I articulated that well, but
no, you did.
I think that's what matters. Knowing your niche extremely well, and being an authority, being like, I know more than you, not in a cocky way, but just
right.
If you're gonna pay to be in a studio and record, then you better know what you're talking about.
Right. And do you ever often, or let me rephrase it. Have you ever seen, because I know I can think of one example that we've talked about behind closed doors about how there was one person that you used to work with, and it's actually a pretty big name, but we won't share it out here. But it was more like when it was behind closed doors, when they weren't in front of a microphone and a camera, they were actually like really cool, very good, nice, got along with them great. But then afterwards, as soon as the mics came on and the cameras came on, it just became like a whole completely different person that was just like it was too much for you to bear. Like, this is something that you definitely wouldn't watch if you weren't involved in it. So I guess what I want to ask you as far as that's concerned is, like, how many times have you seen people that they feel like they have to put on a persona in order to actually do shows that they think that they will think work, because, you know, basically like for clickbait and so on and so forth, but it shows like a lack of authenticity.
Only one, and the one that you're mentioning is the only one I ever experienced like that. And I didn't stop working him because I thought that he was being inauthentic. I stopped working with him because I just did not appreciate what his content was, what it was brewing, I guess, if I can make that word make sense here.
Basically, it just wasn't your jazz.
It wasn't my jazz. But he made himself an authority in his field. He definitely did, and he definitely probably had the biggest following of anyone I've ever worked with, maybe second biggest. But yeah, it wasn't for me. I can't listen to a podcast where it's spewing hatred, and this goes in any direction. For anyone, you know.
Yeah, but isn't that funny how, like, it seems like they do that in front of the camera, but behind closed doors, it's just like it's like the complete opposite.
Friendliest
like,
guy ever. Yeah. Behind closed doors, friendliest guy ever. So yeah, that goes with the part where I said that they have to be authentic, and that I don't think of podcasting as a performance piece. Where, like, Alex Jones, I think the common consensus now that he's coming under fire for a lot of things, I think the common consensus has been that Alex Jones is a persona, much like how we were talking about personas with David Bowie. Mm-hmm. Alex Jones is a persona that he turns on when it's time to get ratings, right? To let me stir the pot and get people riled up, because this is what people want. This is what gets views, gets clicks, and whatnot, right? It's something you mentioned with your previous guest, that they appreciate that you're not just up here spewing or ranting for clicks.
Right. And, you know, like I mentioned before, it's something that I could do. I probably could excel at it because I feel like I do have a dark side, but I feel
you have
like
a dark side. Oh my God.
Yeah, but I don't feel like I wouldn't be myself. I mean, it's, you know, would I get a lot more views? Probably, but that's at the end of the day, that's not why I got into this business in the first place. I genuinely. This is why I tell people all the time, I genuinely felt like doing this because this is a passion of mine that I felt like I had to follow. And despite popular belief with other people that may think otherwise, I have to say that because I've been able to follow a passion and actually set out to do things that I wanted to do and actually meet people that I thought I never got a chance to meet, I got to say that in these last 2 years, almost 2 years of doing the podcast, I've probably been the happiest I've ever been in my life. And I can't wait to see what I can do with this platform and everybody else that's involved with it.
You look happier, guy. I'm telling you firsthand. Like I kind of seen you through the motions, and I see a much healthier person, mood wise, I guess you can say. And yeah, man, you've been kicking ass, bro. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, and you know, like I said, I'm not perfect. You know, I'm human just like everybody else. And you know, there's been a couple of moments where you've actually been there where I'm not exactly proud of how I acted or how I carried myself. But I just learned to just keep on trudging and keep moving and don't let it get me down. I mean, if I've been able to go through a lot of other things that I've had to in my past with my trauma and everything, it's nothing more than just a bump in the road as far as I'm concerned.
You know, and I feel like the concept of perfection is very, very interesting because you think of perfection and you think of it like, okay, perfection, what is perfection, right? That's the best version something could ever be, right? That's perfection, right? How would you define it? If you had to define it?
I mean, I think you kind of articulated it pretty well. I mean, and I also kind of believe, because somebody had talked about how, and I thought it was kind of profound, where, you know, you can only be the better version of yourself but it's hard to be the best version of yourself, but you could always be the better version of yourself. So if anything, you may not be able to be the best version of yourself, but as long as you keep finding the better version of yourself, if that makes sense, it's always going to lead eventually towards you being the best version of yourself when it's all said and done.
Agreed. And I completely agree with that. And I was saying that to say that, I think we are perfect human beings. I actually do believe that. I think that there is a cynical, human beings have a cynical way of looking at themselves sometimes when they make mistakes and they say, well, I'm not perfect. But perfection is the most something could ever be. If something can only be this perfect, right? That's the most. Then doesn't that mean you are perfect then, right? Because you have to make mistakes. Then mistakes become part of being perfect because you are a perfect human being. I don't know. That's just something that comes to my mind a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, and I kind of alluded to it before on the show before, where I'm actually glad that when First Class Second Place first started, the way how it started as opposed to how I thought it should have started, because I feel like if it started the way that I intentionally had it, well, where I had this whole big plan of how like everything has to be ready, everything has to be perfect and plan according to plan, and to that word perfect that we're talking about, I probably would have stayed stagnant, or it probably would have just stayed whatever, or who knows if even I would have continued it. I feel like the trajectory of First Class Second Place in the beginning, where it started literally from the bottom to elevating it to where it's been now, with everybody that's been involved, whether it's myself, you, Ash, all the other people that are involved in the community. I think that's actually elevated me to be a better host, a better person, a better friend, and that says a lot, to the people that have been part of my journey. And I just really hope that I could repay them one day by showing that same energy back. If that makes sense.
Amen. I don't know how to follow that one up. We all should pay back the people who treat us right?
Right, and I don't want this to be a kiss ass session here, but
this is what we've been doing for an hour, but it's cool, man. It's cool. It's good energy.
Yeah, but I do genuinely say this, that I'm really glad that I got a chance to meet you and work with you, and I really value you as a friend, a colleague, all the above, man. Like, I'm really glad that at the end of the day we ended up crossing paths, and I think we're definitely going to make magic together. Not just you and me, but all these people that we have in our community. I think we're going to do a bang up job, and the world's better get ready for us.
We're kicking ass, bro. We're kicking ass for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Perfectly said, Steve. Thank you very much.
Said, right?
And we got to get Steve on the show pretty soon, man. He does a lot that people don't realize behind the scenes.
Let me tell you about Steve, bro. And his contributions here, because I don't know if I say it enough, but when we started, we had a gaming channel. We got a studio. We couldn't get in the art factory, so we moved to a studio on the island in Patterson. And we kind of were too young, and we had too much freedom, so we ended up getting kicked out pretty much. And I remember I had lost my job. I was in a car accident, and I couldn't work anymore, and I couldn't pay the rent. And Steve came and gave me the money to pay the rent, like skin off his back. He's like, I'm gonna go to the ATM right now and get you the money. Boom.
Wow.
And paid the rent, and we ended up getting kicked out anyway. So it didn't matter.
But it wasn't for a lack of trying.
It wasn't for a lack of trying. But yeah, Steve never asked me for $1 back, though. Never asked me for $1 back. I always thought he was gonna do it, and no, never did. And he said, nah, never. And
can you give yourself a round of applause real quick, Steve? I think you deserve it, man. That's what a true friend is right there.
Let me tell you, we just came back from Vegas, and Steve was competing in Street Fighter 6. He's gonna be a champion, man. And let me tell you, Bravery Studios funded that trip, and thank God that we work together, and that we run a business where we can afford to the luxury of a vacation, because that wasn't possible until recently,
Right.
But yeah, I love working with Steve. He's an awesome co-pilot, and he produces half the shows here, and I love it when he bonds with the clients, because yesterday, shout out to the Educator Brothers, they came back.
Nice.
And the first thing he said to me when he was done, he said, "Man, I miss those guys. I miss working with those guys. They got good energy." So I'm happy when Steve's happy, when he does a show that he loves. So And he has nothing but positive things to say about you also. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I like working with the guy. Steve's an awesome guy, man.
Steve's great, man, and I can't wait to see that lovely face on the screen at Newarkplex Cityplex in Newark. You're gonna blow up, bro. You're gonna be big.
And it's so awesome that the skills that we learn doing our own personal projects, like he was doing a lot of gaming related stuff and streaming, it transferred so easily over into the podcasting realm that we didn't have to learn anything. We just had to learn where the buttons were, I guess, the key binds pretty much. And yeah, it was a smooth transition from what we were doing to doing this. So you know, it's almost like we were preparing for Bravery Studios before we knew what Bravery Studios even was.
Wow, it came to manifestation.
Amen. Yeah.
Well, listen, Marv, we're about to close out this episode now, but like I said, man, you came in clutch. I really appreciate it. Thank you for spending this time with us and introducing us to the world again. I mean, this is your second time on First Class Second Place, and I say it all the time. We only welcome first class people here, and the fact that you're here a second time says a lot, bro. So
now I'm second place.
No,
first I was first. Yeah, no. I love the title because you can have fun with it too.
Yeah, that's true, man. A lot of people have had fun with it. A lot of people have butchered it, but
I imagine.
Yeah, shout out to Matt Zaytoon.
Shout out to Zaytoon. What did he say?
The host of First Class 13th Place.
For real.
Yeah, shout out to him, man. And thank you so much for everybody. I just want to say that this is episode 98. We're approaching on 100 episode pretty soon. Maybe this is a little bit premature, but I can't thank everybody enough for being part of this journey. This actually certainly went further than I thought. Thank you to everybody at Bravery Studios. Shout out to my lovely co-host Ashley Zoo for being part of this journey and for putting up with me and all my shenanigans. Thank you to Steve behind the glass. And I don't know why this is sounding like it's a going away party, because it's not.
It feels like it, right?
No,
what are we doing?
This is definitely not.
It's a victory lap over. It's
okay.
A victory lap.
Yeah, all right. That's there you go. It's a victory lap. And you know what?
Lap.
I think that's going to be the title of the episode. So
I like that. Yeah, I like that. And shout out to Ash. I can't say it enough. I can't believe how awesome Ash is on the microphone.
She's the best.
Yeah. I can't believe how awesome she is. So shout out to her. She's definitely a firecracker in this room behind a microphone. So
yeah,
very proud of her.
I don't think I said it enough, but I feel like she's made me a better host and a better friend.
Amen. Yeah. Amen.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this episode of First Class Second Place. Thank you so much to my guest Marv The Producer for coming through once again.
Hit us with the chariots of fire, bro.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man.
Oh,
Ring
my
us
God.
out.
That is perfect.
Shout out to you, brother.
Yeah, so where can they find you on social media real quick, my brother?
Find me on Instagram, The King of Podcasts, or Bravery Studios NJ. Find me on YouTube, Bravery Studios. And soon find me on bravely.tv.
There you go. And ladies and gentlemen, you can find me at JasonEnrique _ on all social media platforms. You can choose any one. It's right there. Also, shout out to Ash _ Lazoo. You can find Ash in there on all social medias as well. This has been the First Class Second Place podcast. We out.
Peace. Richard Nixon.